community leaders and people who helped me to get where I am today. And I am so thankful for the teachers who invested in my future and told me that I dared to dream and to achieve whatever I wanted to do. These teachers invested in my future a long time ago. And they told me, oh, you can go to the University of Texas in Austin and you can graduate. Being from a small little city like West Texas City, I had no idea of what I was getting into. The first day on campus for orientation, I was walking across the campus, and all of a sudden, a security guard knocked me to the ground. He said, get down. Some fool is shooting in the tunnel. That was the day that we had the shooting. That was the day that I said, oh my God, what is going on? My mother said, you're not going back there. Those women shot so many people. She said, it's crazy people out there. My daddy said, it's crazy people everywhere. You're going back to UT. So I went back to UT. Understanding the importance of meaning of saying it takes a whole village to raise a child. It did. Back in the day, it took my whole village. My parents, my community, my church, the Amazon Street neighborhood, was always encouraging, and also my friends. I was always, in the back of the house reading a book or something. A lot of my sisters and people knew. I went to work at Danforth, and one of the ladies know me. My family said that, you're not a random, I've never seen you before. I said, that's because I was in the house always in the books. That's why you never saw me before. But anyway, they inspired me to reach for these stars and succeed at all costs. Education is the key to a successful future, and it unlocks many doors. As you all know, a lot of you are students here today, obtaining your education from the College of the Mainland. And what treasure we have in College of the Mainland. It's right in our back door. It's so close to us. You can go there, you can get a certificate degree, you can get an associate degree, you can get a technical degree, and you can go on to a four-year college. It's the best deal for your money to start here at College of the Mainland. And I'm so proud to say that as a former trustee of College of the Mainland. So we have so much that we didn't have back then. So many opportunities for the young people to take advantage of. All you have to do is take advantage and start. So as I continue to talk about myself, in 1966, when I did go to UT, I didn't find a lot of students that looked like me. In fact, I was the only black in my pharmacy class. And during that time, we didn't have any black football players. But we knew that one day we would, that God would make it so. And he did. And I was, determined to do my best at my school, but I had so many obstacles, there. Because coming from Lincoln High School, we had good teachers and everything. But the first 2 weeks in my math class, we had passed everything I learned in 4 years. That math I had never seen before. Some of the books I didn't know that had existed because in my segregated school, they weren't there. And when I got into pharmacy school, and I was talking to one of my professors, he was very arrogant. He said, why are you here? I said, excuse me? What do you mean, why am I here? Why are you not with your time at TSU? That's where you should be. And being, a young babe, I really wanted to lash out and tell him anything. But I remember what my daddy told me years ago. When you have your hands in a lion's mouth, you're going to have to ease it out. It doesn't mean it's a class to graduate. But it taught me that all people still have some of the old prejudice in them. But we can overcome that. Because I made great friends at UT. Some of the best friends that I had ever made. And we strive together, the counselors, the students, we were all like family. Because that was a hard course to maintain with pharmacy. And we didn't have a lot of women in that class because back then, pharmacy was a male-dominated profession. Now, we women have had our opportunity to spread our wings and invest in that profession. So Christine told me that I should also talk about mentoring. Since the 2022 theme for Women's Month is Women Providing Healing, Promoting Hope, set by the National Women History Alliances. So as we go further, I'm going to talk a little about this theme. Today we are confronted by the economic crisis that plagues the American people. We have failed economies, we have layoffs, we have job cuts, mergers, bankruptcy, failed mortgages, no health insurance, lost 401ks, the erosion of family values, COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, high gas prices, and increase in food costs. What can we do to overcome these problems that plague our society today? First of all, we need to educate ourselves. We need to educate our children and our grandchildren. We must be able to tell them the value and importance of education. We have to instill in them that if a change is going to come, then it first must begin with them. You can become great by turning your dreams into reality, by being more productive and creative. We have so many opportunities today, like I said, that we didn't have before. And like I was going to tell you about change, change is inevitable. We have to have change. And I remember when President Obama came and said that we ought to change. You know, we can't look at somebody else to make changes for us in our lives. We ought to change. We are the catalyst that must begin to change. So we have to look deeper in ourselves and say, this is what I want to do to make it better. And that's what I have tried to do in my professional years by trying to instill in my students and my employers, employees, of what it takes to go inside yourself and pull out the best that you can become. And never be afraid. Never be afraid to take a risk. Never be afraid to be challenged, you know. And don't be afraid to fail. Because sometimes we're going to fail. But with failures, you have to get up and you got to start again. So as I was saying about myself, I did what I used to wait for other Black hospital pharmacists to come into Mainland Medical Center, and I was also one to serve as a mentor for them. I helped create the Pharmacy Tech program at College of the Mainland and helped them to get accredited. And in one of the magazines from College of the Mainland, that program was #1 in the state of Texas back in 2020. So I was so proud of the little Pharmacy Tech program that I was a part of that and to see them become #1 in the state of Texas. So that makes me feel good because as you know, you have people follow you, you want to give them the best of yourself. You know, I don't want to shortcut any of my pharmacists because I'm thinking in graduate school, they need experienced people to help them and to talk about, you know, what is coming. And as God placed good people in my life, I want to be a good person to give back to my community, to give back to my students, you know, and let them know that you're the future leaders of tomorrow. You're the ones that's going to take care of us, you know. So you got to be educated. You know, I'm 74 years old. I'm going to have some of my pharmacy techs, some of my nursing students that I was on the advisory board for to take care of me. So I want you to be the best that you could be because I want to live as long as I can. But I want you to be the ones that's performing the service, giving back to the community. And as Christina said, you know, about mentoring, a good mentor, how do you become a good mentor? It's by life experience that you can share with your mentees. You know, when you're mentoring somebody, it's not that you're coaching them, you're forcing them to follow what you think is best for them, because they have to follow what's best for them. All you can tell them is be their listening ear to encourage them to say, okay, what do you want to do with this degree? Where do you want to go? I had pharmacists who wanted to be retail pharmacists. I had pharmacists who wanted to be hospital pharmacists and clinical pharmacists. They made the decision on how they wanted their life to go. I was just a support. I was a listening ear. And I was the one who told them the things that they needed to know. I had a doctor one time that we were getting into clinical pharmacy. And I tell my students this story all the time. And the person came in very sick into the emergency room. The doctor ordered antibiotics for the patient. The patient had a fever. He was very, very sick. And we were doing cultures and sensitivity. We were doing the labs. A lot of my students come with the book knowledge, but they don't have the experience with the job knowledge that they're about to enter. And so when I got the culture and sensitivity back, I said, oh, this patient is not on the right antibiotic according to culture. So I called the doctor and I was talking to him about it. He said, yeah, you're right about that. So let me tell you something, Dr. Jenkins. He said, my patient came in very sick, and I had to take care of my patient. I didn't have the cultures ready, but I knew that patient needed some antibiotics, so I gave him the broadest spectrum antibiotic I could. He said, now, 48 hours when the culture is ready, they're telling me that it's not the right antibiotic. But I'm telling you, and I want you to tell your students, that it's not always about what you see in the books or on paper. Take into consideration the patient. You say, after 2 days of this antibiotic, my patient has no fever, he's getting around well, he's feeling good, he's almost ready to go home. So I told my patients, my students, that's one thing that doctor taught me. He mentored to me to tell me that go into the file, look at how the patient is doing, look how he's improving. Because sometimes we needed that extra voice to tell us it's the patient and his end result matters more than what we learned in a textbook. So that's been very valuable to me. It's also been very valuable to them. So they go to the doctor, make sure you have all your facts ready. Make sure you have the right drug, the right labs, information on how the patient is doing. So if you want to be a good mentor, you have to want to do it. You have to want to give back. You don't have to, it shouldn't be something that you just want to do just for the glory of it. Because you're helping the students, you're advancing their career, and you're giving them something important that they're seeking. And that's to be the best that they can be. Now, mentorship is very important because mentoring is something that you can't do alone. You have to have somebody else to help you, someone who's been through the fight, somebody who's been there. And that's why I tell them. I also tell them my stories about some of the things that happened to me when I first got to pharmacy school. And my sister can attest to that. And when I got to pharmacy school, a lot of people did not want me to wait on them. They did not want me to give medication to them. And that was okay because, that was them. It wasn't me. So finally, one nurse came down and she said, I needed some narcotics. And you did not have a pharmacist here to give me my narcotics. And my boss looked at me. He said, did you work last night? I said, yes, I did. He said, well, why didn't you give her any narcotics? I said, well, she wanted you or the other pharmacist. She said that she didn't want a technician to give her any narcotics because that was against the rule. He said to the nurse, she's a resident pharmacist from the University of Texas. And why did you not, inquire about that? Well, I thought she was a technician. So my boss said, well, you should have told her. I said, you know what they say when you assume? She assumed that I wasn't, so I waited till you and the other pharmacists came back to help her. So those are things that, I had to have a tough skin. Because back in the day, it was tough for women of color to get where, they needed to be. But it's so possible now. So much has changed. So as I mentor my students, and I have also helped tutor in my home. I have also helped students with science projects, brought them to the hospital lab, brought them to the pharmacy, and they helped them with their project because I just learned that in order to keep giving and receiving, you have to be that catalyst to help start those students on their way. And as women, it's hard for us to sometimes be valuable to ourselves. Sometimes as women, we forget our worth. We forget how important it is for us to seek a career and how important it is for us to become what we need to become. As mothers, as wives, as, other storms in our life that we go through, we sometimes decide that our dreams are not important. But the Women's Month is telling us you can do all things. You just have to have that start. Nothing beats a failure but a try. We have to try to do whatever you want to be. So we have to take on the challenges. We have to permit ourselves to succeed. God has a purpose for each and one of us, and He knows what He wants us to do. So we have to trust Him. I prayed so many times during my professional career when things didn't go my way, or when people, were not kind. I just put it in His hands, and I said, Lord, you have to take over. And He did. So sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith. You have to just lean on Him and just take the risk of leaning on Him. Don't hold back because of failure, because, people don't fail. But sometimes you learn from your failures, and it makes you better. And you can minimize the risk of failure by understanding your strength and taking account of your weakness. So as we prepare, we can always be sure of success, but we can't eliminate the risk. You never know unless you take that leap of faith. You must motivate yourself every day, and the best motivation comes from within. You got to have that talk with yourself and say that success is a result of perfection, hard work, learning from failure, loyalty to those who you work with, and be persistent. I've always been persistent in everything I do. Like Joel Osteen always says, I had a victor attitude and not a victim mentality. I was not going to be a victim. I was going to be a victor. And that's what I always tell my children, But the story I want to tell you is about at the age of 52, I decided to go back and get my doctorate. So many naysayers and people said, why do you want to do that? You're too old. You're already director of pharmacy. Where can you get it? You're not going to get more money. But I wanted to do it for me. I wanted self-satisfaction for me. And that's why I decided that I was going to enroll and get my doctorate degree. I had my full-time job, sometime of 60 hours a week. I had 33 employees that I had to manage, but this was something I wanted for me. One of my good friends told me, she said, 3 years is going to pass by, whether you do it or not. Why not go ahead and do something in the next 3 years and obtain that doctorate? Because you can do it. And I thought about that. I said, 3 years is going to go by, so let's go ahead and do it. So she and I entered the program. When I entered the doctorate program, we had 10 students. I was the oldest one in the class. But they respected me because of my knowledge, because of my experience, and because of the time I took to tell them, the young pharmacists, about my experience. So in 2002, when it was time to graduate, our class had broken down to 3 students. Others dropped out for different reasons, but I was one of the 3 that graduated from my program. And being the oldest one, I said, boy, I'm so proud that I was able to do that, because I kept on trying. I wasn't going to give up. And at my job, I became an encourager. Because if I can go back to school at age 52, what about you all sitting here? What are y'all waiting for? You're in the prime of your life. You have the best opportunities now to do what you need to do. Don't let time pass you by not doing what you need to do. The year's going to go by whether you do it or not. Don't regret it and say, I wish I had done it when I was 18 or 19. Do it now when you have the opportunity. So as I come to a close, I just wanted to read my own creed that I live by, and I want to share with you all today. So I'm going to read this, and I want you to think about what it says and to utilize it in your life day by day. And it reads like this: don't undermine your worth by comparing yourself with others. It is because we are different that each of us is special. Don't set your goals by what other people deem important. Only you know what is best for you. Don't take for granted the things closest to your heart. Cling to that as you would your life. For without them, life is meaningless. Don't let your life slip through your fingers by living in the past or the future. By living your life one day at a time, you live all the days of your life. Don't give up when you still have something to give. Nothing is really over until the moment you stop trying. Don't be afraid to admit that you are less than perfect. It is the fragile thread that binds us to each other. Don't be afraid to encounter risks. It is by taking chances that we learn how to be brave. Don't shut love out of your life by saying it is impossible to find. The quickest way to receive love is to give love. The fastest way to lose love is to hold on too tightly. And the best way to keep love is to give it wings. Don't dismiss your dreams. To be without dreams is to be without hope. To be without hope is to be without purpose. Don't run through life so fast that you forget where you've been. But always know where you're going. Life is not a race, but a journey to be savored every step of the way. Who is Dr. Annette Jenkins? One small candle trying to help light another candle by igniting a spark wherever I go. God bless you, and thank you for